February the 25th. Today at the shop, I was in the sales room when a dad and his daughter came in. She was about 5 and not shy at all. Blown in on a breeze, she brandished her little purse and declared that she would be paying today. I've been told that it's rude just to stare at people from big brown eyes or swirl around and leave in a hurry, so I played along. Cutting a long story short, their purchase of bread and croissants tallied up to €2.10, and so the little lady climbed into her purse to search for the right coinage, the dad giving her hints about sizes and numbers. She finally had produced a €2 coin and the 20-cent coin, when her dad spied a 10-cent coin in her reach and told her if she gave that instead, I wouldn't have to return any money to her. Predictably, the €2 coin went back into the purse, not the 20 cents, and we started all over again. All the while I was wondering if I should start a conversation with the dad just to show how little I minded waiting and watching. That kid was cute, and I always have an easier time being with kids than adults. The problem with the conversation idea was I tend to spot facts if forced to communicate. It's also my way to share love. The first thing that came to my mind was the fact that it was only possible to mint enough coins at an acceptable price in the early 20th century. Think the 20s and 30s, when also the big impersonal department stores really took off. Before that, my interaction with a kid would have looked very differently. Like any other neighborhood store, I'd have put the tally down into a big ledger until the sum could have been paid with a bill. Next, I was thinking about the move of how money came about, and at that point I decided I would talk about it, but here, because once again, what those guys following Turgot, especially Adam Smith, theorized about, has been contradicted by archaeology and anthropology. So, once again, here's a story still used today by most as a lens to create their own reality with, and it's totally wrong. What is it that Adam Smith said? It can be boiled down to money was invented because barter was too complicated. The typical example is a person wanting milk who had apples to give away, but the guy with the milk needed shoes. So the two guys now would need to find a shoemaker who wanted apples to establish a trading triangle. If that had been what had happened, money would have granted facilities. But it had never been like this. What you had were personal markets, neighbors dealing with each other, communities. In this context, the guy with the milk would have given the milk without expecting the transaction to be immediately reciprocal. It didn't need to be. The neighbor would be there the next day and the next, and at some point the milkman would want apples or something else the appleman had available, things or services alike. In many ways, it was even better when everyone was in debt to everyone else over and over again because of the reason for social interaction this facilitated. Even today, in some societies, reciprocating a gift with a gift of the same value carries the unspoken message that you are ending this relationship for good. I know the truth of this from own experience. East Germans called their money aluminium chips. How little was it valued? Criminals didn't even care to rob banks. The problem was, even when you had this money, there weren't things available to purchase with it. There was a black market, however, where you basically could get everything. Its currency wasn't the East German mark, however, but either Western currency, though that was complicated in itself because you weren't supposed to possess valuta, as it was called, or favors. The same favor, or if you want, credit network that grew over time when used in the Grapevine information network that enabled the protests, because this personal market thing brings something else about. Trust. Anyway, fact is, impersonal markets based on cash did form. Why? Well, markets tend to be created by governments as a side effect of military operations. Who'd guessed? You gather an army in a border region. Think about 600 BC. It took a while. The gathering soldiers needed to be fed, but we strangers with weapons bound to leave soon were the least likely people to be afforded credit. It's not enough to pay the soldiers silver or gold coins. The local people have no incentive to accept them for their milk or apples. These metals are of no use for tools or such, so the ruler says, and this would make no sense in any other circumstance, as the ruler can simply seize the mines to own the gold and silver. So the ruler says to the people, I expect you to pay me a tax as your ruler, and you must pay it in gold and silver coins, the ones I have issued. The tax creates a reason for the locals to take the soldiers' monies in exchange for supplies, et voila, we created cash and impersonal markets. I chose 600 BC for a reason. From then on, we get the first coins at several places around the world. And you know what else we get at the same time? Almost all the major schools of world philosophy and the great religions crop up. Same time, same place. China, India, in Greece it even happened in the same city. It's also when you get slavery. Take the example of Alexander the Great. His army got half a ton of silver in payment each day. Where does Alexander get it from? Mines. Who works in the mines? Slaves, who have been taken prisoner by his army while conducting a raid. Money creates impersonal markets. I didn't need to know the girl to sell her something. Taking the personal out of a market means it's all about material goods and getting as much as possible of them. This again creates a place for religion in society as a place where you think about why it is better to give than to receive. Charity, a concept not ever thought about before when the interactions on the market were personal. Understanding this shit is the basis of any change, because this way we know that things can change and how. It takes asking questions even about things we might take for granted, especially about them. There's always a reason why it is that we are supposed to accept something as if it is a law of nature even when it's not. And the reason is seldom benign. So think. Make a habit out of thinking. Turn thinking into a movement to enable yourself to come up with the ideas for a better society you can then sell to others in a free debate. Like, comment, share, and as always, thank you for gifting me with a few minutes of your most precious, your lifetime.